For 50 years or so, I've been a global macro investor. And so I've seen the world, and I look for the cause-effect relationships. And then I encountered, starting about, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, 3 things that happened that never happened in my lifetime before, but happened in the 1930s. And I think that they're at the heart of what's going on now, together with the pandemic, which will be something that is come and will hopefully go. Of course, we're going to have a rebound. So if you look 1 year ahead, it's very likely that because of all of the stimulation, which took the form of debt creation and money printing, and at the same time, it's likely that the COVID effects will recede, and so there's going to be pent-up demand. However, that doesn't deal with the issue of the amount of debt that was created and money that was created. And when you print money, it has consequences. As I say, there were 3 things. There's a credit cycle. These cycles basically go on, for about 3 generations or about a lifetime. 1945, we started a new world order, which was a new system and included a monetary system with the US dollar at the heart of that. And over that period of time, creating debt is a stimulant, but it's a stimulant over the short run, but it's a depressant over the long run, because when paying back has to come, it means that it's a depressant. And when that is too depressing, it causes more printing of money. So that's the first element. That's happening at the same time as there are these second 2 forces, which is also like the 1930s, which is the widening and very large wealth, values, and political gaps. And the third force is the rise of a great power to challenge the existing great power and world order, the rise of China to challenge the United States and the existing world order. There is this income gap and the loss of the American dream, and we see it. I see the need for those kinds of things. The amount provided was about 5 to 7 times the amount that would have been needed to compensate everybody for their income losses. So it was a much larger distribution of money than was actually needed to deal with COVID. But I see those other needs, and I think they're bigger than that, in fact. So those needs are there, and then that distribution took place in that way. The issue is, then where does the money come from, and what are the consequences of that? I think there's a mixed picture. First, I think it's terrible to demonize anybody, whether they're rich or poor or anything. The country, by and large, created this environment of equal opportunity, and people who come along and come up with ideas and make that inevitably earn a lot of money and become rich. And at the same time, I do agree that the excesses of that gap need to be addressed in an important way. So let's not demonize everybody. I think the most important issue is to be bipartisan, to bring both sides together in a smart way. And I almost don't care what is done, just as long as the large population, the most people, are benefiting from an economy that works well to produce sound finances and sound economic growth. However, there is also a risk that if there's some actions taken, that it causes capital flight and it causes issues at a difficult time. I think the taxes need to go up, and I think we need to divide it well. You're only going to, at most, cover half of the deficit, if you're lucky, with taxes. And that'll be a lot of taxes, and I think that that's necessary. The other half is probably going to have to be printed, but you have to be productive. So a lot of these moves in terms of that cannot be just wealth redistributive, but there are so many ways that we can use that money to be productive, such as in education. There's no better investment than in education. But the 2 things that we have to worry about the most is this. Everybody's got their way that they want to fight for something. If the cause you're behind is more important than the system that resolves disagreements, the system is in jeopardy. there are two irreconcilable perspectives, and they're becoming not only increasingly alienated, they're becoming increasingly violent. If you take, let's say, President Biden, he doesn't have support from moderate Republicans, and it's not clear what amount of support he has from more to the left Democrats. If he doesn't pass a wealth tax or he doesn't pass this or that, he's going to have problems within his own party. I mean, like, what do you do about this? I don't know, like maybe a third party is required, but something has got to draw the increasingly antagonistic sides together to do smart things, right? You can break it up into three parts, right? You can break it up to the extreme right, the moderate Republicans, the moderate Democrats, and then the more extreme left. And a Republican or a Democrat that's more moderate does not have a party or a place to be. And it wouldn't take many, as I'm saying, many senators or many congressmen. There probably are no easy solutions, but I think we have to start to think about this problem. Because if you read history and you look at the nature of this beast, this is dangerous, right?
It is.
There has to be revolutionary change. It's unsustainable. There are issues that have to be resolved. How do you spend the money? How do you pay for the money? How do you educate people? There are big issues, and they have to be resolved, and they could either be resolved peacefully, or history has shown sometimes they produce conflict. That's called civil wars, different types of revolution. Maybe a peaceful revolution, such as that which occurred in the 1930s, maybe that. But in the 1930s, many countries did not have peaceful revolutions. In any case, what I'm trying to do, I have a principle, which is if you worry, you don't have to worry. And if you don't worry, you need to worry. And that's because if you worry about this direction that we seem to be heading in, then you will do the things that prevent that from happening. And if you don't worry and you watch it continue on and it worsens, that's worrisome throughout history. When you have a bad economic situation and bad financial markets, and it hurts everyone, then naturally the capitalists are held to blame or it's scapegoated or whatever. We have a tendency to blame each other or to fight, and there's a polarity. The left becomes more extreme, then the right becomes more extreme, and you can't be in the middle. Because if you're in the middle, history has shown us, they say, hey, no, you have to decide one way or another. And then the antagonisms become greater. And that is what's happening today.